Hey folks, it is Jordan here and it is day 56. We're going to do a quick little check-in on our zucchini baby, see how it's doing, how it's adjusting to its forever home, and chat through what we're going to be doing over the course of the next 7 days here. So recall from last time that we were together, we were transplanting it into its forever home, which it now is living in. And as we can see here, it's doing pretty good. It's pretty healthy. It's adjusting to its new environment, all the variability, all the intensity of the outdoors here, but really settling in quite nicely. Now, in those first kind of 7 days where it is into its new home and it's adjusting, and really probably the first 14 days, it's all about just letting it settle in. So the roots, they have gone from being in the little seed cell through a fairly traumatic experience where we're pulling them out, we're loosening them up and moving them into a new home. So right now they might be a little bit shocked. They're trying to just settle in. And so if you don't notice a whole lot of new growth on your plant over the course of the first 7, 14, even 21 days, that's totally normal because the plant is adjusting to its new home, and then the big growth spurts will begin to happen. So with our baby here, it is kind of in that stage where there isn't any amazing growth that's gone on it, but it looks healthy, it looks happy, and it's doing well. One other piece to note on this one is that I did remove a couple of flowers that were on there. If we were to look right here, we can see that there is another flower that is on here, and I'm just going to go in there and just pinch that off. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we don't necessarily need or want any of those first flowers turning into the fruit. The vegetables themselves aren't going to grow all that large because the root system isn't incredibly developed yet. So just popping those flowers off will allow the plant to put more of its energy into foliage growth, and then we'll get more and more flowers a little bit later on in the season. So one thing that we want to start thinking about with this baby is how much water should we be giving it? And this is incredibly dynamic. It's going to vary for each and every one of us depending on where we are, how warm it is outside, if we've been getting lots of rain, if it's been more of a drought. Those are all going to be factors that impact how much it is that we go about actively hand watering it. Now, the one thing that we want to take into consideration when it comes to watering is just the amount of kind of like turgor pressure that is on the leaves. So if you notice that your leaves are beginning to wilt, that is because there is not enough water coming into the plant's roots and then up into the leaves. Keep them nice and firm so they start to wilt over. There isn't any of that internal turgor pressure. And that is a really great sign that the plant is saying, hey, I need some water here. So if you see that your leaves are wilting over and kind of falling down, drooping a little bit, that's a great sign to give it a really good big drink of water. Alternatively, if you notice that any of the leaves are a little bit mushy and kind of rotting almost, or if the main stems are mushy and rotting, that's a sign that there's just too much water in there. It's kind of bursting at the seams, and that's why it's starting to feel a little bit mushy. It's much more uncommon with our outdoor plants than it is with our indoor plants, but also something that we want to be careful and conscious of there. So watering, I wish I could say that I had a miracle or magical figure to be watering it per day, per week, etc., but that's going to vary for each and every one of us. For myself, here, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, we get a lot of rain in the spring, so I don't really even turn on my irrigation all that much until we start getting into May and June most often. And then in those kind of most intense days of summer, I'm usually up to watering it with my irrigation about once per day for 30 to 45 minutes there. So what does that mean for the next kind of 7 days, and what should we be doing with this baby? We want to allow it just to continue to settle into its new home. Again, let's make sure that root system is establishing and doing its thing, and we're going to then see a lot of the growth start to come on once it's been into this forever home for 14, 21 days. So at that point in time, we're then going to start talking a little bit more about pruning and about pollinating, and then ultimately about harvesting. But for the time being, we want to just let it settle into its new home here. So the next video in this playlist, we're going to jump to day 77, because at that time we really start to see a lot of flowers coming into the plant. And that's super exciting because that is ultimately where the zucchini fruits are going to be coming from. And so if you're a little bit curious about what to be looking for, but specifically what's the difference between a male and a female flower, how we identify them, then I really encourage you to jump to the next video here, because you're gonna have a little bit of a sneak peek in terms of what to be expecting and what to be looking for with the flowers on your zucchini plant. So to view that next video, all that you need to do is click on the tile right here. It will take you over to the next video. And that's everything that I wanted to cover off on for today. So if you do have any questions, just leave those down in the comments here. Otherwise, you're doing absolutely amazing, and I'll catch you on day 77.